Welcome back to Block TV. It's time for Pump or Dump. That's where we examine the dominant news narratives of the week to see if we agree or disagree with the news agenda. Do we pump it? Do we dump it? What do we do with it? So to do that, I'm joined by Block TV's crack team of reporters, starting with none other than the boy that is the joy, Zachy Hennessy. There he is. The maven, Ron Spitzer, the other chick in the room. And of course, the man with two last names, Block TV's senior correspondent, Archer Westrup Evans. As always, 2 rounds. You know the rules. I decide who wins without any type of anything that makes sense. Okay, there we go. So we start again, and we are beginning with Ron. Your first round is JP Morgan coin plus consensus versus Steam It goes Tron. Wow, okay, your minute starts now.
Yeah, so, I mean, although this consensus JP Morgan thing sounds fascinating, we don't know anything about it. So for like a week, everybody's just been talking about this thing that nobody knows anything about and just spewing out, listen, there's gonna be a thing, there's gonna be a thing. And that's what we do in the space a lot, and we should stop. But what is actually happening?
Journalism, just kidding. Yeah.
Yeah, but what we should be talking about is the Steam-Tron merger that's happening, which I think is a total mistake. But basically, Tron and Steam developers will jointly be looking into migrating Steam products and users to the Tron network and ultimately swapping, and this is where it gets interesting, Steam tokens for a new Tron-based version. Now, these Steam tokens, as far as I know, are relatively new. This whole pay your content creators on Steam is kind of a new concept, and the fact that they're already going into the Tron network and transposing things, and especially, like, these people claim to have over 1 million users. That is huge in this space. You're moving to a network that with people that are kind of shady. I don't understand why you would want to do that, especially since like voice just went into beta. That's interesting. It's a fact.
Okay, I have 2 arguments, but I'm going to let your esteemed colleagues, the gentleman. What do we think?
I'm curious to wonder, like, it seems as though Tron over, say, a competitor blockchain like Ethereum, for example, seems to be kind of picking up a lot of these projects, and I'm curious about what that means in terms of like the wider ecosystem. If a lot of people are seeing all of the crazy antics that Tron and Sun are getting into, and yet they're still like choosing to go with it. If you can say that is maybe to Tron's credit as a platform that despite all of these things.
Right, but that's the thing. I think that we are sort of conflating Sun and Tron, which of course we should in some degrees, but in other essences, the technology and its creator, founder, backer, whatever, it should be separated to some degree, and I think perhaps are by the industry. And Tron is really going out there showing some support for projects that maybe Ethereum, I don't know if it's too big for or just doesn't have interest in, and some of these quote-unquote smaller projects, although as you say, with a million supposed users, not small.
That's their claim, again, that's their claim.
I mean, we haven't seen the numbers behind the thing, but that's a serious claim, and they do certainly have presence. I mean, this is not, Zachy's interviewed people from Steam before, Steam
They're not
itself.
just rotaries, but they exist. They have how many users do we know?
Tangible. They claim 1 million.
They're claiming a million.
They're claiming that they have those million.
Absolutely. So why, I mean, if you're doing well and you're being, I don't understand then why transpose systems when everything you're doing is still rather new. And it seems like it's going well for you, unless again, we're missing.
But it wasn't. Exactly.
Tron does have a strong marketing arm. Let's put it down that way. Whether it's a competent marketing arm remains to be seen. And
we've also seen that they have quite a bit of money that they're willing to
just throw around.
I think that's one of the most important things to know.
Like their only angle of success, Tron in general, is that they buy companies like BitTorrent, and then it's like, oh, you're good.
I mean, there's money behind Tron that we know. The only thing I slightly disagree with is the consensus. JP Morgan, I think both should be pumped because I think it's a very interesting marriage. If consensus becomes almost, I don't want to say swollen, but essentially it's a mainstream marriage. It could be the way some people at Consensus saw their future heading. One can argue that Tron still remains the bad boy of the sphere, but there's money involved. Definitely. What do we think, folks?
I think there's a lot of ifs when it comes to the JP Morgan consensus story, and I agree with Iran in that sense. We can report ifs as a headline, and then you got to move on until you get some sort of concrete on the ground.
And also, if you want to talk about it, let's talk about the fact that consensus keeps laying off people. But now there's a merger, yay!
but you do the reporting connected to that. Clearly, it happened because of some reason. That was not. It's not a mistake that was news on the heels of news. Okay, Zachy, you win this.
Yeah.
So moving ahead. And we're moving to Usher with Andrew Yang, dump him. as seems to be the case, versus U.S. government regulations. Yes, okay.
I'm waiting for my bing.
There we
Not
go.
until the
And your
bing.
minute begins now.
All right, so Andrew Yang, love him, hate him, whatever you want to do, he's last week's news, let's just say. I mean, the Yang gang seem pretty set for the 2024 run, but until we get at least past this election, he's out of the show for now. But that doesn't mean that the US has moved beyond cryptos. That doesn't mean that digital assets and digital asset technology are not still front and center. And we've seen that in the last week or few coming out of all manner of Congress. We saw Fed Chair Jerome Powell speaking in front of Congress, talking about cryptocurrencies in his hearing. We've heard SEC Chairwoman, SEC member Commissioner Hester Peirce, also known as Crypto Mom, come out and suggest different regulatory approaches. And of course, we've seen Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, come out with some pretty powerful comments about cryptocurrencies. And I think if we can pause the clock and take a listen to what he has to say.
There's a lot of different things that get grouped together into this one area, so let me just be brief. But on pure cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, and there are others, we want to make sure that these are not used as the equivalent of secret bank accounts. So we are working with FinCEN, and we will be rolling out new regulations to be very clear on greater transparency so that law enforcement can see where the money is going and that this isn't used for money laundering. There is another component of the market which people refer to as stable coins, where we do think technology can be used to reduce payment processing quite considerably, particularly for small dollar payments cross-border. And then there's a third component that people are looking at, which is central bank digital issued currency. That is something that Chair Powell and I do not think the U.S. needs to consider now, but could consider again down the road.
That clock dinged a while ago, please, Usher.
No, all I want to say is that, look, he came out, they're saying they're not racing towards the CBDC, but the fact of the matter is, we just saw the Treasury Secretary of the United States break down cryptocurrencies and digital assets into three clear parts.
Right.
Pure cryptocurrencies, stable coins, and CBDCs. That level of nuanced conversation is mind-blowing and should be given its due credit.
It really does seem like there has been like a sort of like brute force effort from the crypto community to really just hammer this into the general narrative.
I actually think it was one man's job.
Yeah, but
I think it was Mark Zuckerberg's job.
and he did a great job. He accomplished
I mean,
it
we'd
well.
like to think that the sphere was behind this, but until he sat in front of that Senate and those committees, they did not know the meaning of the word CBDC.
Right, and now they do.
Yeah,
And now 6 months down the line, 8 months down the line, however far we are
it's
from
the
that.
nuance. It's very true.
Now they have the
Yeah.
nuance. Now they have the understanding. No longer is it just Bitcoin. or
Digital money
cryptocurrency.
bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or even what are
That's
those
cyber
goods?
thing.
It's still kind of
there.
digital
No,
money
but
bad,
it's
but
not-
it's like it's bad in three levels.
Yeah.
Let me
Right.
show you how.
Yeah, it's not just digital money. It's all right. Pure cryptos have this problem. Stable coins have these inherent
Right.
difficulties, but maybe we can work with it. And CBDCs, we're not working on it yet, but we recognize that others are. That is such a change from
Yeah.
just that
drastic.
2019.
No, exactly.
I think it's dramatic, important, and it is clearly, whether it be the result of also figures like Andrew Yang or others out there, but there are those out there that have pushed that narrative, Zuckerberg, of course, but among others who have helped to change and shape that narrative. I think it's very
This is
powerful.
actually the time for the sphere to get in on that conversation,
Certainly.
rather than say we don't want it this way or that way. But very true. Okay, you all win this. There you go. And we're moving to Zaki. Zaki wants us to dump, and I am more than happy to do that. To dump that $4 million Bitcoin dinner / luncheon / whatever versus Bitcoin for hunger. Yeah, my God. Okay, your minute begins now.
There it
Peter
is.
Pan.
Okay, so last week news broke that Justin Sun, he had his fabled big fat dinner with Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
It was he won it in a charity auction for $4.6 million, and they went and had it. It was actually a lunch in the end, but there they are all together. It was very nice. But here's the thing: we need to. It's nice that it happened. Whatever. That is $4 million that went to charity. But the thing is, the narrative wasn't so focused on the charity aspect of that. So I'd like to say, what if we shifted the idea of, instead of focusing on one $4 million lunch, for example. We could
Of
instead
rich people who
shift the
claim that it
narrative.
changed their lives.
Right. We could instead shift the narrative to a better application of money, crypto, and food, which is BTC for Hunger and all other food charities like it, like Eat BCH in Venezuela, etc. So these are enabling crypto holders to feed people who really need it. And imagine how many meals Son could have bought with $4 million as opposed to the one that he had with the old man.
I'm quiet. I'm letting that line resonate.
Well, Zachy, you tugged on the old heartstrings there. I will say
That's
it's
me.
hard to look
Milking the
hungry.
heartstrings.
Looks hard to look at hungry
It's
people in
moments
the
as
mouth.
such
and-
that remind us that past Geek It, there's always a heart in there. Let me play devil's advocate, because saving people doesn't sell.
Yeah. Well,
No.
sometimes it does, doesn't it?
No, I mean.
They put those folks on that boat.
it
I'm not saying I
doesn't-
agree with that.
People will say no, and that's like really it.
Yeah. But here's the thing. So it's nice to associate.
As Asher did when he was commenting on you pulling on his heartstrings.
Here's the thing. You got all these crime
But did he
stories
pull
coming
out
up.
his Bitcoin?
Maybe.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe this is a thing of 2018, 2019, but it is, you hear all these crypto crime stories, and so cryptocurrency is associated. Even that loaning company Figure, I believe that they're called, they're pumping blockchain technology, not associating itself at all with cryptocurrency and whatever, but like to associate with charities may be also,
And
a
maybe
nice
if the
way
people in
to
the
push
sphere
it
would
back in
start
that
doing
direction.
some charity, then they get a
Yeah.
better reputation.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Although-
Maybe, but like the odds of getting these people to donate to charity, unlikely.
Although, and as well, I mean, if we're talking about comparables, Bitcoin often compared to gold, I don't see that many people donating gold bars to feed the children either. So maybe it's
Sure.
just not the format for that.
It's not the format. One can argue human nature. But there's that as well. That said, yes, more of that. Less hype, more substance, please.
More food.
More food for those who need it. Round two. We're moving to round two, I believe, indeed, right? Okay. Ron, you're the with the very, very intriguing minute of Bitcoin over under 10K. She says, dump it versus mother-daughter developers. Your minute begins now.
Yeah, so the conversation last week was the psychological line that is Bitcoin over under $10,000. And, we've heard it. We know that there's this thing, so we don't have to keep talking about it. Like, we get it. Like, we hope the price goes up. I do too. I work in blockchain.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
but there is a mother-daughter duo that has been since 2011 in on blockchain. Since 2011, have been blockchain or crypto developers.
Right.
Both at I believe it's the daughter who started the first chain of ATMs of Bitcoin ATM networks in Panama. They've respectively worked for like Voorhees and developing crypto exchanges. Basically, these women have done an abundance of great things for Bitcoin, and nobody knows about them. Here, let's take a look at a bit.
I'm Cindy Zimmerman. I'm a co-founder of KeepFi, and this is my mom, Judy.
I'm Judy Katzman. I have been in software development for my entire career.
And we work with cryptocurrency and blockchain technology.
For those of you old enough, but you're not, this is great. This is like, it's like butter.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's insane to me that these women have done so much for the crypto community, and this is the first
First of all, I'm
time.
the first one to admit, this is the first time I've heard about them.
Same.
When are we?
Right.
The real
That's
question
awful.
is, when are they coming on Block TV?
Yeah,
That's the real
that-
question.
that
Ron.
one. Yeah,
we're
Ron,
working on
get
it.
him
We'll
interviewed.
tag them in just in this particular.
Yeah, but also this is since 2011. When's the mom is a software.
They both are.
Both
They're
are.
both developers, and it's insane to me that.
I
nobody
really
knows who
think
they
that
are.
we got to stop having items about what about women in blockchain. Just interview these chicks.
And also
There you go.
speaking of chicks, Crypto Chicks is a great organization of female developers, blockchain developers that are really focusing it, led by Vitalik Buterin's mother, whose first name I was looking for on my phone when we went back to studio, so that was a little
Well, essentially,
embarrassing for me.
Vitalik's mother decides everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
as
go.
it should be. Yeah.
In charge of
Behind
crypto
every
chicks.
Nobody's
great
talking about
software
her.
developer, there's a very strong woman. Okay.
There you go.
Yes, Ron, you win this. We can't really because I'm flabbergasted. But coming up on your heels, Usher with Bitcoin bets versus global threats. That's great. Sounds like the name of a show.
Yeah.
And your minute begins now.
Yeah, well, if it's a show, it's a dark show because I'm ready to bring the mood down a little bit. So Bitcoin bets, that was for the good rhyme. But generally, the price and movement and short-term in Bitcoin, we're looking at a larger global issue, that is global threats. Now, I got a fun statistic to throw out to you guys here in the room. Currently, over 10% of the world's population is now in lockdown or self-imposed quarantine. 760 million people in China. Global population right now is about 7.5 billion. Over 10%. This is a mammoth story. Yeah, like, to understand the scale of what that is beyond. That's over twice the population of the United States currently on some form of lockdown imposed by a government authority right now because of the fears of a global pandemic and its spread across the world. What this means from everything from health to markets should be beyond the scope of just a headline. This should be the only, not the only thing, but one of the main things taking up all airspace right now. We need to give this more attention.
Why do you think we're not? I tend to agree.
I personally think either because people don't take it seriously because it's still mostly domestically tied inside China. It hasn't formally spread to another border yet in sort of a large enough number. And I think as well because people are too intertwined, and I say people, mostly often in the United States, are so intertwined in their own political nonsense right now. Yeah, the West as a whole, let's call it the West, are so intertwined in their own political nonsense, they're not.
Just bring them all down.
There's also probably a huge, and I wasn't around mentally at the time, but there have been a lot of prior huge disease outbreak scares like SARS, like mad cow and whatever. And so I think to the common layperson who hears about this on the news, then they associate it with, oh, it's one of those scary things that's it's really scary,
It's just
but
not
it's not
close
that
to me.
big a deal.
Right.
Yeah, but it's the same reason with the BTC hunger. It's exactly the same thing. It's like, it's not here right now. I'm not feeling it personally.
Yeah, but the difference is difference is people will start feeling this.
That's, I mean,
but also it's then you talk to people. Like I spoke to somebody last week who's actually based in China for work, and he was like, yeah, we didn't go to work for a week. We all worked from home, and then now we're fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you hear stories like that, and then you're not concerned anymore with.
The number of people whose lives have been stopped, it is, again, it's remarkable that number that has been.
That movement, I mean, when was the last time 750 million people did anything in unison? I mean, just think about that number. Like when 750 million
The only
people.
other thing I would say about that is that maybe we can't comprehend that. First of all, it's a terrible thing to say, thank God the outbreak, not thank God, but China is the one country with everything encompassed in it, including very questionable political mannerisms that can handle something like that. They can do this. That can lock down their people.
Yes,
which is terrifying, exactly, for better or worse, which is terrifying in many, many, many cases.
But the ramifications of this, the roll-on effects of what this will mean, and I'm looking beyond the health implications necessarily, assuming this all gets under control, having that many people locked down for that amount of time.
Will we only care when it affects our markets? I'm not even talking about our health.
Perhaps
Will we only care when it affects our
But the ripple effects could be the sort of thing that go on for months, years, potentially, depending on how this plays out, even decades. The sort of ripple effects of what closing China, the world's global manufacturing hub, for any significant period means on the world is staggering, and I think we haven't yet come to terms with what that means.
We need to send Zaki there to investigate.
Sure, on a boat.
Okay. Asher, you take this one. There you go. I'm feeling generous. And Zaki, you got to follow that lead. Very strong lead.
Excuse me.
Yeah, no, my God. Okay, Zaki, up. The last round of this Pump or Dump. Cryptocurrencies versus digital currencies. Good luck with that one. Your minute begins now.
Okay, so the IRS went ahead and made a whoopsie last week where they listed Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Ethereum rather in the same breath as V-Bucks and Robux, which are the in-game currencies from Fortnite and Roblox respectively, and they listed them all as virtual currencies and by extension cryptocurrencies. And this was in relation to or in association with the IRS's policy on digital currency taxation and stuff like that. Really, really funny. They've since corrected it because that's fucking stupid.
Sure, it was not funny for a lot of people.
Right, so a lot of people, Fortnite players are freaking out, feeling like they're going to get taxed.
More about the Fortnite. When they be taxed for this?
So they cleared it up, and so you don't need to worry. Your V-Bucks aren't going to be used to build any roads anytime soon. But it is something to be aware of, and it's something that maybe it's a little bit inside gaming, but I wanted to open up a narrative regarding the future of in-game currency and cryptocurrency and how they will merge and what impact those two will have on each other.
I think it's a marriage that actually, will naturally develop and does go hand in hand. As you get, let's say blockchain-based products on gaming, in gaming networks, we're saying, they are immutable, they are, existent on a digital distributed ledger that will exist for all time and immemorial. then you're starting to buy products, and you get that one step closer to a standard taxation as you would have for any brick and mortar store. I don't see why the association needs to jump. If anything, it could be better though, because people are paying taxes on the dollars they use to buy their V-Bucks or their Robux.
Right.
Just cut out the middleman. You're buying it in, Bitcoin, ETH, whatever currency.
I'm looking forward to the dystopian Black Mirror episode where we're all getting paid in-game currency.
In-game
So
currency.
you could just buy your
It's called
There
Libra.
was one.
It's called Libra.
Yeah.
It's coming.
And there was one like that, actually. It opened season 3. Very similar. You were part of the game. I'm still horrified by the IRS's mistake, I gotta say.
A bunch of goofballs.
No, that to me spells, damn.
They had some intern
We're so
who was
far
like,
away
yeah,
from
look up
anything.
what digital currency
I don't
is.
even think it was an intern.
Yeah, it's
But,
true. It's-
Yeah, I
an
don't
adult,
think it
an
was. I
adult
think it
fucked
was
up.
somebody on the salary. I think it was somebody paid. Wow. Okay. Zachy, guess what? No, I'm gonna give that round to Asha.
All
I've been
right.
too nice. I'm
earned
sorry.
it.
I'm
You earned
sorry.
it.
I'm sorry. Lady and gentlemen, thank you so much for this rendition of Pump or Dump. The world needs them a lot to progress, but you're doing quite a job of it. There we go. That was it for us. BLOCKTV for today. Bye.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.